Welcome to The Nameless. This story is not for everyone, but if you're still here, take a deep breath. Let's begin.
Locals say it only shows up under a blood-red moon. I didn't believe that at first. I mean, I'd lived in the desert for over a decade, and stories like that float around all the time. Towns that vanished, mines that swallowed people, roads that looped back on themselves. But I still remember the night that changed my mind. It started with a glow on the horizon, like a faint red haze spreading over the sand. I thought it was a dust storm catching moonlight. Then I saw a roof line, a water tower, a church steeple, even though I knew for a fact that nothing was supposed to be out there. The next thing I knew, I was driving straight toward a town I'd never seen before. I think the strangest part was how normal it looked at first. Like a small desert town you'd blink and miss. Old signs, empty porches, the kind of place my dad used to take me to when he had errands in some forgotten corner of the county. But everything felt slightly off, like the air had too much weight in it. Heavy, still. The moon hung lower than I'd ever seen it, tinted a deep red that looked almost unreal, and the town seemed to glow under it. Looking back, I should have just turned around. I really should have. But curiosity gets you in quiet ways. Before all that, my life was painfully normal. I worked at a small repair shop a few miles from my house. Nothing fancy. Mostly air conditioning units, broken radio antennas, the kind of stuff no one else wanted to deal with because it was too far out. I lived in a single-floor rental home with creaking window frames and a yard I kept telling myself I'd fix up but never did. I drank too much gas station coffee. I fell asleep with the TV on more nights than I care to admit. I had a few friends, but we all worked different schedules, so we rarely met up. The point is, nothing about my life made me think I was the kind of person who'd end up telling a story like this. I wasn't chasing ghosts or exploring abandoned places. I didn't even like horror movies. I liked routine, predictable things. But the desert changes you a little. When you live far from everything, you start paying attention to small details. The way sound carries at night, how wind pushes across the sand, how the sky looks when weather shifts. That night, I remember stepping outside to take out the trash and noticing something strange. The desert was silent. Not quiet, silent. No crickets, no wind, no distant truck on the highway. It felt like the world was holding its breath. Then there was the sky. The moon wasn't red yet, but it had a faint tint to it, like something behind it was pushing through, a thin haze. I kept staring at it without really knowing why. Later, when I got in my truck to pick up a late dinner, I saw the glow. A faint reddish shimmer over the dunes, way past the stretch of highway. It wasn't normal. I'd driven that way dozens of times, and there was nothing out there except an old service road and miles of empty sand. But the glow stayed and hung low, and for reasons I still can't explain, I took the turn. I didn't think I was heading toward a town. I was just curious. But the further I went, the more the glow sharpened into shapes. A grain silo, a row of rooftops, a small main street, all dark, no lights, empty. But there, a town where there shouldn't have been one. When I crossed the faded white line that marked the town's edge, my radio cut out. Not like static, more like someone hit a switch. The screen went black. My headlights flickered once but stayed on. The air was dry but cold. And the buildings looked old in a way that didn't make sense. Weathered wood, peeling paint, windows clouded with dust. But the architecture was wrong for the area, more Midwestern than desert Southwest, like something picked up and dropped here by mistake. I parked near the old general store because I thought I saw movement inside. Not a person, more like a shadow shifting. I remember sitting in my truck, engine idling, and telling myself I was just tired, that I'd hallucinated the town because I'd been working long hours. But the building was real. I could see the boards, the broken sign, the dents in the metal roof. I got out and walked toward the main door. The ground felt strange under my boots, too soft, like I was stepping on packed sand instead of asphalt, even though the road looked paved. When I reached the door and pressed my hand against the glass, it wasn't cold like I expected. It was warm, almost like someone had been inside just moments before. That's when I noticed something. My footprints behind me, the ones I'd made walking from the truck, were gone. The sand was smooth, undisturbed. No tracks from my tires either. I wish I hadn't gone back to check. Inside, the store was empty. Not looted or abandoned. Empty. The shelves were stocked with items that looked brand new, but decades out of date. Glass bottles of soda with labels I'd only seen in old photos. Boxes of cereal with fonts no company used anymore. A display of postcards showing the town itself, except every card showed a bright, normal sky, not the blood-red moon above me. I took one off the rack and turned it over. No writing, no price sticker, just blank cardstock. Then I heard footsteps above me. Slow, steady, deliberate. Someone walking across the second floor. I should have run. I really should have. Instead, I whispered, "Hello?" and immediately regretted it. The footsteps stopped. Then, after a long pause, they moved again, but away from me, toward the left side of the building. Then, down a staircase I couldn't see. The hair on my arms rose. I backed out of the store. The street outside had changed. My truck was gone. Not stolen. Gone. Like it had never been there. No tire marks, no indentation, nothing. That's when I realized something else. The buildings were closer together than before. The streets narrower. Like the entire layout had shifted while I was inside. The moon dimmed slightly, then pulsed once, like a heartbeat. A soft hum rose from somewhere deep in the town, low at first, then clearer. It sounded mechanical, but wrong, like an engine trying to start with no fuel. Then the lights came on. Not all of them, just the street lamps. Pale, flickering bulbs that buzzed as if waking up after a long sleep. They cast long, warped shadows across the road, and I swear I saw figures standing at the far end of the street, faint, out of focus, not walking, just standing there. I blinked, and they were gone. The hum grew louder. I didn't want to keep going, but there was nowhere else to go. The streets behind me looped back to the same intersection, no matter which way I turned. The buildings shifted. I know how that sounds, but they did. Corners stretched, doorways narrowed. I felt like I was walking inside something that was slowly closing in. At one point, I reached what looked like the town hall. The front doors were wide open. Inside, the air felt colder than outside. Papers were scattered across the floor. Old notices, meeting minutes, handwritten names. The dates made no sense, some from the 1960s, others from years that hadn't happened yet. One paper was tacked to a bulletin board. It looked newer than the rest. Returned, it said. Below it were dozens of names, some crossed out, some lightly smudged, some too faded to read. At the bottom was a blank line. Something dripped onto the page. Not liquid, sound. A tapping, slow, from behind me. I turned. No one was there. But the door I'd entered through was closing, inch by inch, without a breeze. I lunged forward and shoved it before it could shut completely, and the moment I stepped outside, the hum stopped. Silence again, but not normal silence. This felt expectant, like the town was waiting for something. The moon flickered. The buildings shifted again, subtly, but enough to throw off my sense of direction. I walked quickly, scanning every doorway, every alley. No sign of my truck, no sign of life. The town looked smaller now, like it was folding in on itself. I felt disoriented, dizzy. At one point, I swear I heard my name whispered from behind a boarded-up window. I didn't check. I kept walking. The town square appeared without warning. A large open area with a dried fountain in the center. Benches circled it. Trees, or what used to be trees, stood leafless around the perimeter. On the far side was a church with tall doors and a missing bell. The doors opened on their own. Inside, the pews were filled. Not with people, not exactly. Shadows, shapes, outlines of bodies sitting perfectly still, facing forward. I froze in the doorway. I couldn't breathe. I don't know how long I stood there. Then every shadow turned its head toward me at the same time. I ran. I don't remember half of it, just flashes. Streets warping, the ground shifting under my feet. The moon pulsing faster and faster. The hum returning, louder than before. A sound like distant breathing. My own heartbeat pounding in my ears. Eventually, I tripped, fell hard on sand. Sand. I looked up, and the town was gone. Every building, every street, everything. Just open desert and a normal colored moon. My truck was parked a few feet away, engine still running. I got in and locked the doors, even though I knew it wouldn't help. I drove home shaking. My hands barely stayed on the wheel. That was 6 months ago. I haven't told anyone. Not really. I tried once, but the words sounded crazy even to me. Sometimes I convince myself it wasn't real, that I fell asleep in my truck, that stress made me imagine the whole thing. But last night, I saw something again. A faint red glow on the horizon, low, unmoving. And in the quiet of my house, when everything was still, I swear I heard the hum. Even now, I don't know what that thing was. But if the moon turns red again tonight, I don't think I'll be able to stop myself from looking.